My name is Tiffany Heflin. I'm 34 years old, and the Christmas my parents decided my daughters and I didn't matter was the year something inside me finally cracked. Quietly, cleanly, without drama, like a glass breaking under too much pressure. It started with a text message, not a phone call, not a conversation, just 10 little words glowing on my screen as I stood in my kitchen making cocoa for my girls. We're doing Christmas without you. Hope you understand. Love, Mom. Understand? I stared at it, feeling nothing at first. Not shock, not indignation, just tired. This wasn't sudden. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was the inevitable next step in a pattern I had been swallowing for years. My parents had always wanted a version of me that couldn't exist. The obedient daughter. The one who married young, stayed in church, stayed quiet. The one who didn't cause ripples. Instead, I'd gone and built a life they didn't approve of. Had my first daughter young, raised 2 girls alone, later, fell in love with Evan. The kind of man they called not our kind, despite never giving him a chance. And long before Evan, my ex, his ex-girlfriend, had poisoned the well with her gossip, whispering that I was unstable and difficult. My parents believed her long before they ever believed me. They never said it out loud, but I knew. They liked the idea of me more than the reality of me. But even if they didn't want me, my daughters, that was something I'd never forgive. I didn't respond. I didn't argue. I didn't beg for clarity. I simply loaded my daughters, Ava and Lila, into the car and drove toward the mountains, toward a small cabin near Flat Rock I'd rented months ago, just in case I needed an escape from everyone and everything. It was quiet there, peaceful. A frozen lake out back, pine trees dusted with snow, soft string lights draped along the porch. My girls thought it was magic, and I let them believe it. I made cookies, we built a fire, and we wrapped dollar store gifts like they were treasures. For 24 hours, I let myself pretend none of it mattered. But then, on Christmas morning, I made the mistake of checking Instagram. I didn't even know my parents knew how to hire a photographer, but there they were. 21 people in matching red and black pajamas. My parents, my brother and his wife, their kids, my cousins, even my uncle from Florida, who never came to anything. All smiling, all glowing, all together, in our childhood living room. And not one of them had thought, should Tiffany's girls be here too? I showed the pictures to my daughters because I refused to lie. Lila asked why we weren't there. Ava didn't ask anything. She just looked for a moment and whispered, "It's okay, Mom. We can celebrate differently." But inside my chest, something hot and sharp twisted. I wasn't angry that they excluded me. I had made peace years ago with being the inconvenient daughter. But my girls deserve better than invisibility. That night, after they went to bed, I sat by the fireplace with my laptop balanced on my knees and opened every bill I had been quietly, consistently handling. My parents' electric bill, their water bill, their internet, the car insurance I'd paid without being asked. My brother's rent assistance twice in the last year. All of it. Stopped, canceled, cut off. No messages, no warnings, just silence. Because if they truly believed we didn't exist, then they could live without everything I'd been carrying on my back. By the next morning, my phone had become a battlefield. 32 unread messages, 6 missed calls, 3 separate group chats buzzing like hornets. My mom asking if something was wrong with the power. My dad saying the internet wasn't working. My brother, in typical fashion, sliding in with, "Do you still have that extra rent money?" I almost laughed. None of them connected their exclusion to my silence. They didn't see the cause and effect. They simply panicked because their convenience had been interrupted. I didn't reply. I didn't explain. I just let them feel nothing from me. Around noon on the 26th, a different name appeared on my screen. Aunt Caroline. My mom's older sister, the quiet observer of the family, the one person who never made me feel small. Her message was simple. "I saw the Christmas photos. I didn't realize you and the girls weren't there. I'm so sorry. Are you okay?" For the first time in days, something inside me softened. I didn't tell her everything, only the truth that mattered. They had been pushing me out for years. This wasn't new. This wasn't sudden. I wasn't angry. I was simply done. She didn't guilt me. She didn't try to fix things. She just listened. And when she finally spoke, she said something I didn't expect. "They think you walked away because of the photos. But this started long before that. And honestly, I don't blame you." Her words were a lifeline, not because they healed anything, but because they confirmed what I already knew. My daughters and I had never actually been part of the family picture. We had just been edited around. And for the first time, I didn't feel guilty for stepping out of the frame. For 2 days, the group chats kept exploding like fireworks in a sealed room. People demanding explanations. People pretending to be confused. People who hadn't spoken to me in months suddenly acting like I'd caused a natural disaster by simply stepping away. I ignored every message. But on the morning of December 28th, something different appeared on my screen. A voice memo from my mother. Just one small audio bubble sitting in the family chat like a landmine waiting to be stepped on. I stared at it for 10 full minutes. My thumb hovered over the screen. Part of me expected it to be guilt-tripping, or maybe the classic Heflin-style emotional manipulation. Tears, blame, you misunderstood, or you made us feel unwelcome. But the thing about voice memos, you can't control your voice the way you control your words. So finally, with my stomach tight, I pressed play. My mother's voice filled the room, but it wasn't the voice I knew. Not sharp, not disappointed, not rehearsed. Soft, uncertain, almost trembling. "Tiffany, I don't know how to start this," she exhaled shakily. "I've been looking at the Christmas photos over and over, and every time my eyes go across the room, all I see is where you and the girls should have been." My chest tightened. She kept going. "I keep thinking about Ava's little felt ornaments from last year, and how Lila cried when the dog knocked over the gingerbread house, and how this year none of us acted like any of that mattered." Her voice cracked, and that alone stunned me. My mother didn't crack. She controlled every breath, every syllable. But then she said words I had never expected to hear from her. Not once, not ever. "You've always seemed so strong, and I think we mistook that for not needing anything from us. I thought you were pulling away. I didn't realize we were the ones pushing you out." A long pause, silence heavy enough to make my eyes sting. Then, "You've done more for us than we ever admitted. Financially, yes. But more than that, we let you carry everything and called it independence. We never thanked you. We never asked if you needed anything. We didn't show up for you. And then we were surprised when you stopped showing up for us." Her voice wavered again. "I miss you, Tiffany. I miss Ava and Lila. I'm sorry." The recording ended abruptly, as if she cut it off before she could lose control completely. I listened to it again and again, 3 times, each replay feeling heavier than the last. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't shaking or furious or even vindicated. I just felt tired. Tired in a way that sinks into your bones and becomes part of your breathing. For years, I'd been gathering hurt like firewood, stacking it, storing it, preparing for a blaze that never seemed to end. But now, the fire didn't feel hot. It felt cold, like ashes. That night, Aunt Caroline called me. She didn't mention the voice memo, which somehow made it easier to breathe. She just asked softly, "How are Ava and Lila doing?" We talked for nearly an hour. She didn't defend anyone. She didn't excuse anything. And then she said something I'll never forget. "They think you're upset about the photos, but what they broke started years ago." I closed my eyes. "Do you think they can change?" Aunt Caroline sighed. "People like your parents don't change until something breaks. And Tiffany, you finally broke it." I didn't respond, because part of me wondered if breaking it was the only thing that had ever been in my power. That night, instead of responding to my family's messages, I typed one sentence into the group chat. The first thing I'd said to them in weeks. "I need space, not just from Christmas, from all of it." I set the phone down. Within 30 minutes, my dad texted me privately. A simple message. "Can we talk? Not as your parents. Just as 2 people who hurt each other and don't want to anymore." I stared at the screen. My dad wasn't the type to say things like that. He was from the generation of men who apologize by fixing a sink or mowing the lawn with unnecessary aggression. But this was different, unexpected, unsettling. I didn't answer. Not out of anger, not out of spite, just not ready. The message sat there for 2 days, unread, untouched, until late one evening when I finally picked up the phone and pressed call. There was no ring. He answered on the first buzz. No small talk, just, "I messed up." Then he took a shaky breath. "Your mother and I, we didn't even realize you'd been carrying everything. The bills, the rides, the help with your brother. We took it all like it was owed to us." I didn't say anything. He continued. "The Christmas plans. Honestly, they just happened. Your brother offered to host, and no one brought you up. We assumed you wouldn't come. I didn't want to deal with tension." "That's not an excuse," I said quietly. "I know," he whispered. "And leaving out Ava and Lila, that was unforgivable." He paused. Then his voice dropped lower. I've been reading Ava's school blog, the one you shared last year. She wrote a Christmas Eve entry called, "This Year It's Just Us." My throat closed. She wrote about snow and cocoa, and then she said, "I don't think Grandma and Grandpa like us anymore. Mommy says it's complicated, but I think it's just sad." He cleared his throat roughly. She ended it with, "I still love them. I hope they remember me." Silence. Then he said the one sentence I never saw coming. "You're a better mom than I ever gave you credit for." My eyes burned. We talked for almost an hour. Not about blame, but about the years we never understood each other. For once, he asked questions, real ones. And for the first time in a long time, I felt something that scared me more than anger ever did. Possibility. For days after that phone call, I lived in a strange stillness, a quiet space between hurt and hope. My father's words lingered like fog, impossible to ignore, impossible to fully trust. He said he wanted things to change. He said they could do better. He said he missed us. And yet, words were easy. History was heavier. I didn't commit to anything. Not to New Year's, not to another conversation, not to forgiveness. But Ava did. Every morning, she packed and repacked a small duffel bag, pajamas, her favorite stuffed otter, socks she called her lucky pair, and every night she asked gently, "Mom, should I keep it ready in case we go?" Lila, on the other hand, had only one concern. "If we go, can I wear my sparkly shoes, the ones with the silver stars?" I didn't know how to answer either of them. Their hope was a fragile thing, bright but breakable. I didn't want to shatter it. Then, on December 30th, a knock came at my door. A quiet one, a hesitant one. When I opened it, my brother, Nathan, stood there holding 2 wrapped gifts. My daughters froze behind me in the hallway, peeking like nervous animals. Nathan looked different. Not smug, not defensive, not pretending everything was fine. He looked humbled, or maybe scared. "I've been an idiot," he said without preamble. "Mom and Dad were wrong, and I followed their lead because it was easier. But it wasn't right, and I'm sorry." No theatrics, no long speech, just raw honesty. He crouched down and held the gifts out toward the girls. "One for Ava, one for Lila, if you want them." Ava glanced at me. I nodded once. She took a tiny step forward. Nathan smiled, small, shaky. "I missed you, kid," he whispered to her. When Ava accepted the gift, something shifted in the air. Subtle, delicate, but real. After he left, I stood at the window watching him walk to his car, shoulders slumped, like he finally understood the weight of everything he'd helped create. Maybe people really did change when they were forced to face themselves in the mirror. By New Year's Eve afternoon, I still hadn't decided. The girls hovered, anxious but hopeful, and I felt their anticipation pulling at something deep inside me. Not forgiveness, not obligation. Something simpler. They wanted their family back, or at least the chance to believe family could be something better than what they'd been shown. So just after 4 p.m., I made a decision. Not with confidence, but with caution. "Girls," I called, "go get your shoes." Ava's face lit up like sunrise. Lila sprinted toward her room, screaming, "Sparkly shoes, sparkly shoes, sparkly shoes." I packed the car slowly, deliberately, as if each item I placed inside represented a boundary I still needed to protect. The drive was quiet, snow melting in fragile sheets off the roadside, a heavy sky, gray but not unfriendly. The girls held hands in the back seat, a detail that tore and mended me at the same time. As we turned onto my parents' street, my chest tightened. I expected decorations, garlands, inflatable snowmen, the usual spectacle. But there were none. Just a simple green wreath on the front door and the porch light glowing warm in the dusk. No performance, no polished illusion, just stillness. My parents stood in the doorway. Not smiling, not pretending, just waiting. My mother's hands twisted nervously in front of her, as though unsure she had the right to reach for her granddaughters. My father looked older than he had 2 weeks ago, not physically, but emotionally, as if the guilt had carved something into him. They didn't rush forward. They didn't bombard us with apologies or explanations. They simply stepped aside, giving the girls space to enter if they chose. Ava hesitated for a heartbeat. Then she walked forward carefully, cautiously, and my mother let out the smallest, softest breath I'd ever heard. Lila stomped proudly up the steps, thrust her sparkly shoes forward, and announced, "I wore these for you." My mother's eyes filled instantly. I stayed on the porch, watching it all unfold, watching my children find warmth where I had found cold for years, watching my parents' walls crumble in real time. My father turned to me. Not with expectation, not with ownership. Just sincerity. Tiffany, he said quietly, thank you for giving us a chance to try. I swallowed. It wasn't forgiveness. It wasn't a clean slate. It wasn't a fairy tale ending. But it was a beginning. Fragile, tentative, uncertain. A beginning I never expected to have. I stepped inside. For the first time in years, it didn't feel like a performance. It felt like possibility.